He wore white robes, but left muddy footprints on battlefields, refugee camps, and the earth itself. My name is Scott Layton, and as a Roman Catholic, I join millions around the world in mourning the loss of Pope Francis. He challenged me, not just as a Catholic, but as a man trying to live with integrity in a fractured world. But why are Catholics in mourning, and what does the papacy represent? I remember an Easter not long ago, I was blessed to be able to visit the Vatican for an Easter Mass. Pope Francis shared his Easter message the next day. Now, like the shepherds before him, he's returned to the Father. Beneath the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, the world held its breath. The white smoke has risen countless times across centuries, and with it, the hope of humanity. But what is this office, this sacred chair of Peter, that commands such reverence, even in an age where divine authority is so often questioned? The papacy is not a monarchy in the worldly sense, though it bears the grandeur of Rome and the weight of heaven. It is a sacred trust bestowed upon the successor of the Apostle Peter by Christ himself. Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Matthew 16:18. For 2,000 years, through schisms, wars, reformations, and renaissances, this rock has stood sometimes battered, sometimes glorious, always enduring. But why does this office still matter? Why do hearts ache when a pope dies? Why did the passing of Pope Francis bring such a deep and universal sorrow? To answer this, we must first journey through history's veins. Imagine a fisherman from Galilee, his hands calloused, his speech rough entrusted with the keys of heaven. From that moment, the papacy began, not with crowns and palaces, but with trembling humility and divine fire. Peter, who denied Christ thrice, was chosen to shepherd the church. This is the paradox that gives the papacy its soul, strength through weakness, authority born of love. From the catacombs of persecuted martyrs to the Renaissance palaces of intellectual and artistic patronage, the papacy has shaped not only theology but civilization itself. The popes preserved the memory of Rome while baptizing it in eternity. And so it continued, through Gregory the Great, Leo XIII, John Paul II, until Jorge Mario Bergoglio stepped onto the loggia and greeted the world simply, Fratelli e sorelle, buonasera. There was something about Francis, a man of contradictions, an intellectual in simplicity, a powerful man who washed the feet of prisoners, a pontiff who scorned privilege yet bore a fisherman's ring. He didn't just speak about the poor, he went to them. He didn't just call for peace, he embraced the wounds of war with trembling hands. He didn't just espouse mitigating climate change, he framed it as being stewards of the earth and God's creation. His death is not just the end of a life, it is a break in the rhythm of hope. For those of us who strive to live with depth, curiosity, and conscience, humanists, polymaths, and seekers of truth, Francis was a bridge between faith and reason, between the Renaissance and the modern soul, between a broken world and a better one, a voice now lost in a sea of division and tyranny. He spoke in encyclicals, but also in gestures. Laudato Si was not only a cry for environmental justice, it was a hymn to the earth, echoing the cosmic love of St. Francis of Assisi, yet backed with science and reason. Fratelli Tutti was not just a document, it was a philosophical love letter to humanity. To the Renaissance spirit, he was one of us. He read widely, thought deeply, questioned courageously, and loved immensely. He reminded us that faith need not be blind, and that science need not be godless, that art and truth are siblings, that beauty matters. And what now? Do we retreat into silence, or do we rise with the memory of his voice in our hearts? If Francis taught us anything, it is that the mission of love, peace, and salvation is not reserved for saints in heaven, but demanded of us on earth. The real question is not who will be the next pope, but who will be the next Francis. The question isn't who fills the chair, but who carries the spirit. We can rededicate ourselves, yes, you and I, to the mission he lived. Not abstract love, but practical compassion. Not lofty words, but service in gutters, shelters, prisons, and on the streets of policy and protest. to live as if the gospel were true, to live as if we too are bridges in a fragmented world. Live intentionally, live intelligently, live lovingly. History is not dead, dear friends. It merely waits for new hands to write it. Pope Francis lived not in the past, but in that luminous threshold between yesterday and tomorrow, where the Renaissance spirit breathes. He saw the Church as a field hospital. Let us become its medics. He saw creation as a sacred trust. Let us be its stewards. He saw dialogue not as weakness, but as strength. Let us speak, and listen, and build. The Renaissance was not a return to old glories, but a rebirth of truth. We can live that rebirth again in our hearts, in our sciences, in our art, in our compassion, in our courage to change the world by beginning with ourselves. Thank you for watching. Our channel, known as the Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to the pursuits of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. Video topics encompass areas including history, politics, religion, personal development, society, culture, social and environmental justice, and other topics of liberal arts and sciences, including ancient Rome and the Roman Empire, which is a great comparison and contrast of the modern world. Topics perfect for the true modern polymath. Living the Renaissance spirit means engaging with history not as a distant past, but as a living dialogue, constantly informing and enriching our present. And the Renaissance spirit is a reminder of our dialogue with the future, our progeny and posterity, our legacy. Will we grant them a future free from fear of climate change and tales of the end of democracy? Will they admonish us for our sins and omissions, or will they remember us fondly as saviors of humanity and the natural world? The Renaissance ushered in a golden age and the pursuit of knowledge both lost to time and yet to be discovered. It gave birth to the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason, embracing truth, knowledge, and an understanding and compassion for humanity and our shared history opens up the world to each of us, individually, and improves all of humanity, affording us the opportunity to be better stewards of the earth and to each other. The Renaissance spirit isn't just a philosophy or a style. It's a way of living, learning, growing, and thinking with courage. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share, and take our quiz next to see if you're a Renaissance spirit. Live the Renaissance spirit. Live it boldly. Live it with love. And in the spirit of Pope Francis, live it for others. Next, we'll explore how Renaissance thinking can reshape modern faith, politics, and activism.